Hey folks, TJ here, and we need to have a little bit of a chat. So in this footage here, this is not intended to name or shame any driver at all, but it's to give you an indication of what I'm talking about. So the meat and bones of this video is basically Sarthe, penalties, driving standards, quitting races, and also typing in the chat box whilst racing. But yeah, it's not intended to name and shame anyone. I just want to give you an example, and I want to talk about a few things in general about this track, the game, and kind of like driver etiquette basically. Anyway, so with that being said, let's get into it. Insert snazzy intro here with music, because I ran out of spaces. I completely ran out of spaces, and you'll see why a little bit later on. So yeah, this is a recent race from the stream, and I'm obviously in the lead, and I'm pushing pretty hard because I know the guys behind me are going to try to try really hard to win the race. But the important thing I want to talk about here is that the track limits, the penalties, why they're on, why they have to be on, and how you come about getting to them. So in short, basically the Sarthe has two faulty penalty zones, and I will show them to you when they come up on the actual race here. But in general, the penalties for this track are actually pretty lenient to an extent. If you go far too wide and abuse the circuit limits in a manner that you shouldn't be doing, then you're going to get a penalty, and it's quite deserved as well. But in the heat of a race, you're going to be racing, you're going to be pushing hard, and maybe you're pushing too hard sometimes, as we'll kind of see later on. And you could easily pick up a penalty if you do something like that. So let's talk about this race a bit more. So in this race, I'm leading. Obviously, I use a G29 wheel. I don't use any driver aids at all. And the reason for that is driver aids do not make you faster in this game. So for any new players or players that have been playing the game for a while, if you're using driver aids, you need to turn all that crap off, like right now, and learn to drive the game without it. And just driving on a joypad is no excuse, because I can drive the game perfectly well and fast, and qualify and race on a joypad with zero driver aids apart from ABS and default. Driver aids just slow you down. All the stability control, traction control, and everything else. It completely nerfs your car. One by one, they all do things that make you slower. So that's the first thing. The second thing is as well, traction control. I've noticed that it's easy to abuse it. So if you're driving along and you go for a corner, if you put your foot flat to the floor, it takes almost zero skill to actually make the corner, because the car is actually doing all acceleration for you. All you're doing is put your foot flat to the floor, and that's also slowing you down, but it's also kind of abusing the system in a way. So it's complicated to explain really, but long story short, in the future we'll be running lobbies without traction control and stuff like that, because we're going to get you guys used to it. Void is going to host one of the next lobbies coming up, and the only driver aids available is going to be ABS on default. So ABS is going to be the only one. You don't need the other ones, guys. Trust me on this. If you want to get fast at this game, you've got to turn that stuff off. That's the best way to learn and to go fast, because you're always going to be relying on one driver aid or the other, or a combination of two or three. And you know, if you ever wondered why myself or Void overtake you or whatever, it's because we're not using them. It's as simple as that. It's not because someone's on a wheel or a pad or whatever. But experience counts for a lot too. But yeah, so turn those driver aids off, guys. If you use them, they're completely 100% not necessary. So we're going to get into the penalties now, and we're going to see a few examples of penalties, how they happen, and how drivers kind of blame the game for them rather than their driving. But you'll see that very shortly coming up. So here's the first penalty incoming anyway. So if you watch this, guys. So I think it's quite clear what happened there, and we'll see a couple of angles of this as well. So in short, the driver's gone through the corner and tried to go for the exit of the corner full throttle, even with traction control. And basically the car has completely gone over that white line, as you can see. and that is a penalty. If you have more than 2 wheels over a white line on a circuit in a game, it is a penalty, and that's why it's there. So here's a different angle to watch. So yeah, you can see that's a definite penalty. All the car is completely over that limit, and that is a penalty. That is 100% driver error. It's not the game doing that or anything else, okay? So yeah, so the penalty system works in this instance, okay? So yeah, that gives you like one example, and we're going to continue driving here as well. And we're going to show you that pushing too hard leads to massive mistakes. If you're really trying to keep up,
fucking right in the pussy,
like this, then you're going to have an experience where you're pushing way over the limit and you're trying way too hard, and you're going to do things like this and this as well, okay? So watch this one too.
What the fuck was that?
So pushing too hard over the limit is going to lose you time. So what you want to do is, if you're doing like a race, you want to keep in the limits and not crash off and blame the game and not you. And this curb here on the left, this curb right here, see that curb right there?
Fatality.
If you clip that curb, even with 2 wheels, it's an automatic penalty. That left curb is an automatic penalty. You can get away with cutting the one on the right, and experienced drivers of the game know this on this circuit. So here's a replay of what we just seen there. So yeah, you could say, well, it isn't really a penalty, but you kind of cut the second one anyway. But yeah, that left curb is bugged. That one right there, boom, that is a bugged curb. So whatever you do, don't cut the left one, but you can cut like a fair bit of the one on the right hand side, but never on the left. So now we're going to see the same mistake as lap 2.
Bruh.
So that was an identical mistake from lap 2, but on lap 3. So pushing far too hard for the corner, your car drifts out wide, you blame the game.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And then you get really angry at the game. Now that's not the game's fault, that's absolutely...
My ding ding dong.
That's actually completely driver error there, okay? So yeah, I'm trying to make that a bit humorous for you guys, but you can actually see, you know, what's going on there. So in terms of the limits, you've got to make sure you have 2 wheels over the white lines at all times. Okay, there's some sort of leeway here and there, but you know that from experience, where you drive the car and when you can't drive the car. So from experience, I know, having driven thousands and thousands of kilometers and miles on this track, in GT5, GT6 and Gran Turismo Sport, I know where these limits are, because they're roughly the same in every game iteration, you know? But yeah, if you're driving like this, and if you can't keep up with the guy in front because he's faster or he's having a better day, driving faster than you, yeah, don't over push the car, you know, because if you over push the car, you're going to get stupid penalties, you're going to crash, and then, you know, you're just going to keep going backwards, and that's what kind of happens. So in terms of driving like that, you know, just drive within your limits. It's not always about winning, being number one, finishing first at the top. It's never about that. That curb on the right there, boom, that one there, sometimes that gives you a fake penalty of half a second. So there's 2 curbs that are bugged. That's the second one I was telling you guys about at the start of the video. Okay, so with that being said, that's limits the penalty system and the curbs and everything else. But yeah, pushing too hard, like I say, it leads to massive mistakes. You're going to fall back, you're going to get angry at yourself, and you're going to do things like this. And again, that's not the game's fault, that's completely driver error. You're pushing way too hard, you're over pushing your skill limit, and you know, you just can't drive like that and expect to win. If you want to win, you've got to learn how to be fast, consistent and smooth. It's simple as that, it really is. But also, when he or she know they won't win, sometimes the following happens also. So yeah guys, don't drive like that, don't do that, don't blame the game for your mistakes. and keep typing in the chat box, because if you keep typing in the chat box all the time and you make a mistake, it's really annoying for those of us who are trying to race. Okay, so please listen to what I'm saying, please take that on board, and please try and learn, and just be awesome, because I think you guys are great, but please, those little things need to be changed. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, guys. It might not be a popular video, but it's just something that has to be said. And this is TJC Gaming. Please feel free to like if you liked it, or dislike if you disliked it. Thank you, and bye for now.